Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C, and we're doing Real Talk Sports. Today is beautiful April the 7th, 2016, and we are so happy and appreciative of our growing audience. We want to say bienvenidos to our Latin American audience. Have a lot of people follow us on Twitter, and also Big C, I know that you were back down in the good old boy South just a few days ago, following March Madness. And I know you're into golf too. A lot of good things are happening down in the South and Southwest. We have the Super Bowl out here in California at least, but you good old boys are taking things over, Big C.
What's the Super Bowl, Come on, let's deal with real sports. Okay?
I know it's not
real men do. Basketball and golf. That's what real men do.
I know it's not college football in the South, but I know the NFL Super Bowl is still a pretty big deal in most parts of the world.
Well, that's about all you guys can have out on the West Coast is the Super Bowl, because we got real football down here in the Southeast.
I understand. And also, as we like to pay homage to the entertainment industry, we know that Chris Rock talked about at the Oscars how they want to get more people involved and give people equal opportunity. And we do, Big C. As you know, we talk about a lot of the great actors who are into sports, but also Merle Haggard, a great musician, lost him. And I want to get your thoughts on him, Big C, how much he meant to the music industry.
He was one of the iconic figures, Merle Haggard, Charlton, in the country music industry. He was born down in Oildale, California back in 1937, Charlton.
Yeah.
His career spanned 53 years in the country music industry. He, along with Hank Williams, probably were the most dynamic and influential figures in the country music, the way it was written and the way it was sung. And he's going to be sorely missed, Charlton. He affected so many careers over his years in the industry. His number one hit was Okie from Muskogee back in 1969, which was an iconic song that resonated for decades.
Yeah.
But when you lose an iconic figure of this magnitude, there will always be a gap in the music industry. And it's not black, white, whatever. Music is music. It's universal. And all of these artists cross over and perform with each other. They'll help others with tracks. They'll play background music. But Merle Haggard never turned his back on anybody, and he was just a great figure that's going to be lost in the music industry, not the country music industry, the music industry, Charlton.
Yeah, and I think it's worldwide. When you think about great figures, entertainers that transcends race, it crosses gender. It doesn't matter where you were born or what religious affiliation, all the things that divide people, Big C, lightning rod issues. But music is a universal, and it makes people happy. Now, Oildale, that's down near Bakersfield, right? The great state of California?
Yeah, California. Where they don't get any rain. My bad.
Well, think about it, because we pay so much homage to entertainers, and we know straight out of Compton, Southern California, hip hop artists. We talked about Dr. Dre. We talked about Snoop Dogg, Eazy-E, Ice Cube, and now you bring up Mr. Haggard. Not that far. I mean, Bakersfield's also Southern California, Big C.
Well, when you think about it, he was such an iconic figure, but you also got to look at Charlton. Buck Owens was out of Bakersfield. So you had Merle Haggard and the late Buck Owens. They were probably about 40 miles apart.
Yeah.
Two of the most iconic figures in the history of country music and music. When you think about Bakersfield, they have a place down in Bakersfield, California called the Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And that was Merle Haggard's performing place, and as well as he was in the radio industry down there, and there's several streets named after him. These guys were not just figures in the industry, but they were figures in their communities, Charlton. And that's what we talk about, giving back, being a part. And when you look at his life, they said, Merle Haggard did straight talk, just like we do real talk.
Yeah.
His straight talk affected millions and millions of listeners over the decades, Charlton.
Well, also, the great football icon, Hall of Famer Frank Gifford, the late Frank Gifford, went on to USC, actually played at Bakersfield High School, and then went on to the great USC, and then on to the National Football League. Also one of the best broadcasters in the history of the NFL. And also
played with the New York Giants. Charlton was an all-star until Chuck Bignair, the linebacker from the Philadelphia Eagles, caught him with a clothesline on a crossing route, which ended his career. Back in those days, you had to duck.
So when you say clothesline back in the day, you weren't just talking about something you hang your clothing on. You're talking about what was legal. Now you got me thinking Lester Hayes and Jack Tatum and the good old boys from the Oakland Raiders, Big Z.
real iconic football, Fred the Hammer Williams, and players along that line, the great Dick Buckets, and Tommy Novus and Ray Nitzke, Willie Lanier, superstars back in the day in the 60s and the 70s that when you walked out on the field, you had to look both ways because they didn't care. Back in the day, you could take a flag for knocking somebody out.
Well, I guess Roger Goodell's glad he wasn't around in the days when we had Dick Buckets and Ed Too Tall Jones and Mean Joe Green and all the great guys that we talk about today. Lyle Alzado, I remember he actually ripped the player's helmet off back in the day, Big C, but that was more acceptable back then. The Raiders got a lot of the credit for that, but it happens all over the league. But the Raiders and the California boys, they took a lot of the flack for it, Big C. But also,
the NFL back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, Charlton, they used to push defense.
Yeah.
Defense was a line, and it's still talked about defense wins championships.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't want defensive players being the dominant players. They're trying to find a way to put points on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So they're out there handcuffing defensive players. And the NFL used to always have highlight reels of great hits.
Yeah.
They no longer produce those of the greatest hits in the NFL. You have to go back into the archives to find those.
Yeah.
But that was part of the most exciting film review that you could ever see, were the great hits that players didn't get up from.
Yeah.
And we knew as players the risk that you took.
Yeah.
But that was the greatest euphoria in the game, was hitting somebody and them not getting up. It was just a release of endorphins at that point, Charlton.
Yeah, and talking about releasing endorphins, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the Escalade. You can only get it there new. And when you go down and see it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And also, Big C, I know that, again, you've been around the Final Four. We had the men and we had the women's championships. And we talk about pay and this equality about gender equity, how women, I don't know why they don't make the same amount of money that men make for the same amount of work, Big C. But you talked about some of the coaches in the March Madness on the men's side. Their bonus was as much as $500,000 just for getting to the championship game. So imagine the pain when the coach was not able to get his team there, Big C.
Well, Charlton, there was a lot of talk down in Houston about Lon Cougar, the head coach at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma was just being trounced by Villanova, and there was some talk that Lon was looking at these players like, you guys are not even trying.
Yeah.
I got $500,000 on the line by winning this championship.
Yeah.
I know you guys are gonna get sweatsuits and hats, but that's $500,000 for me.
Well, see, I think that's so funny because, sometimes being in business, you realize it's all about the bottom line. And when you make people money, like you said the other day, when you make people money, they tend to like you. But a lot of this talk that we talked about coming into the tournament, that lasted about a month, Big C. No compensation for the players. But the coach at Villanova, they were bragging that he's wearing a custom-made $2,000 plus suit on the sideline, but we can't get the players a steak dinner or any compensation, Big C. I just thought that was ironic.
Charlton, he probably won't wear those suits twice, because they're going to have sweat rings in them and everything, so it's not going to be up to his standard to wear that suit twice.
Right.
But, when you take a step back, Charlton, and you look at the amount of money. Now, yesterday there was a lawsuit settled with EA Sports, okay?
Yeah.
The same people that make Madden Game and the NBA, is that they settled a lawsuit for $600 million for the likeness,
How much?
The likeness of players. And
how much money?
$600 million. That's paltry.
$600 million. You're gonna get all the NCAA coaches gathering around. I mean, Hulk Hogan's starting to feel like he was cheated. So that's a lot of money, Big C. $600 million.
Well, it's a lot of money, but you have to look at how it's going to be dispersed. The largest check that's going to be dispersed out of this, Charlton, is only $9,300. Now you got to figure this is covering the NBA, the NCAA, NFL, college basketball, football, as well as the NBA and the NFL. So it's not a lot of money in totality with the amount of numbers with the players whose likeness and names were used.
Yeah.
So $600 compared to what EA Sports, think about what the Madden game did. It probably did $6 billion by itself.
Oh, yeah.
So $600 million is really nothing in the totality of dollars.
Yeah.
But it was proven by a court that the players need to be paid for their likeness being used. Now, every college in America is using a player's likeness, whether it's on a billboard, whether it's on a program.
That's true.
Whether it's on a cup. So they're using it. There was a precedent set yesterday that EA Sports owes. So we're getting closer to like what Jay Billis was saying on the Talking Head show, the Worldwide Leader, is that it's class action. Is that these players are owed money.
Yes.
That was proven in a court yesterday. that by using these players' likeness, now you look at the March Madness, the advertising, whether it was on television, whether it was on print.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that they got paid advertising? These universities get to participate in some of the advertising money too? I'm sure the athletes don't know that, Big C.
Well, they're getting a cut, Charlton. There's a lot of people getting a slice of that pie, and his name is not an athlete, okay?
when an athlete...
They can't even rake up the crumbs from the crust, Charlton. So when you look at this, it is now being talked about more and more. I know we've brought it up a lot over the past few months, but now more and more people are talking about it, that the players deserve money. As an athlete,
wait, let me ask you this question. Now, I'm going to take the other side of the fence. Why would I pay you money? Aren't I letting you play basketball for free? Isn't that what the colleges are saying to the athlete? Why do I got to pay you? I let you play for free?
Well, you're letting me pay for free. I can go out and play a pickup game. I can go straight out of high school.
Right.
And go right into the NBA. So you're not doing me anything for free.
Right.
As a player, I am doing you a favor as a player coming to your university. I'm not going to go to class because I'm going to be one and done, so I'm only going to be there for 6 months.
Why you always going to bring up the great University of Kentucky? They give them a uniform, Big C. Isn't that enough?
Well, even Duke lost their top freshman, Charlton. He's one and done. He declared for the NBA. So it's not just Kentucky. Mike Krzyzewski loses them also.
Yeah.
But, when you look at these players, they come in, I don't care how much a scholarship you give them.
Yeah.
We sit here and we talked about the Villanova head coach, Frank Wright.
Yeah.
Wearing suits on the sideline is $2,000 a copy.
He said
season, Charlton. I'm going to say that Villanova played at least 37 games this year, counting the regular season, the tournament, and the conference championship.
Wait, but he says
37 games, so that's 37 times 2, Charlton, on the suit category. So here's a man sitting there with $74,000 in suits. Okay, we're not talking about the $150, $200 tie that he has on, the $400 loafers that he has on his feet. And he's not wearing the same ones every night because they get a little sweat on them.
Well, listen,
so he's not going to be out there with water spots on his shoes.
We thought Liberace had
a shirt that costs $250. And I don't even know if he's wearing underwear, but if he did, they're not a pack of hands off the shelf.
Well, think about it. Like Liberace, they had to look good everywhere they went. But a lot of these coaches, they'll say straight up, I had no idea how much that stuff cost. That was donated to me, because they'll say their hands are not on the credit card or the cash when they get those suits, because they are donated, perhaps, but someone's giving them money.
They're donated. The reason why he doesn't know what they cost because they're tailor-made. Yeah. When you have a tailor-made suit, Charlton, it does not come with a price tag. Well, he's not down at JCPenney's or Sears.
Well, wait! Don't insult where I shop, Big C. I like JCPenney's. I got a good deal on some suits at JCPenney's. I know you and some of those coaches shop at those tailor-made places.
But no, I can only afford Nordstrom, Charlton.
Oh my God! Only Nordstrom, other Charlton and Big C.
And Dillard's are for me.
And speaking of things that are nice, classy, and expensive, this segment is also sponsored by BMW, home of the ultimate driving machine. You can only get it at your Northern California BMW dealers new. And when you go down there, test drive their all-new 760 Li, over 600 horsepower of raw power. Tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, I know we get on these coaches, and you talked about the lawsuits with the sports company, EA Sports Company. And I do think, and I hope that whether it's gender equality or just compensation, that we have opened a door for a conversation, because when it gets into conversation, we know the Masters are going on right now. We have Major League Baseball that started up. NBA basketball is doing great right now. But I want to bring up something that you talked about also, because we talk about money all the time. I keep hearing these quarterbacks that are coming out of the draft and how they're looking at where there's Carson Wentz or where there's going to be the kid from Cal Golf. But they keep saying that Colin Kaepernick should take less money. Will any of these announcers go back to their employers and say, I want to take less money too to make ESPN more money or the NFL Network? Is that insane that they're thinking an athlete is dumb enough to take less money just to go to Denver, Big C?
I don't know if it's insane, Charlton, but I can say that it's straight out stupid.
Yeah.
By the guys that are saying it. Let's look at all these prognosticators out there, Charlton. If they were to be paid on accuracy.
No, don't go there now. I got to get paid on what I do, right?
It's anybody's guess when it comes down to the draft. You got all these prognosticators sitting up there telling you about what a team's need is. Let a GM or a director of personnel come out and tell you what a team's need is, okay? They know what fits their program the best. So you got these guys, if it was based on accuracy,
yeah.
every prognosticator on television is going to be broke, Charlton. He's working for free. Because all he's doing is a guessing game.
Yeah.
That's it. He doesn't know what a team needs. You can sit there, and when they talk about golf, they talk about Wentz.
Yeah.
Okay, golf is the top-rated quarterback on the board. He's only rated as the 8th best player in the draft.
Yeah.
He's not even in the top 10 as far as best players in the draft.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is rated below him.
Yeah.
But when you sit here and you talk about quarterbacks who've been productive in college, they talked about Connor Cook, playing at Michigan State. Now, he played behind Kirk Cousins at Michigan State. Took Kirk Cousins a long time to grasp the NFL game, basically 3 years before he could grasp it. So I wouldn't see Connor Cook grasping it before 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, you look at the rest of the quarterbacks in the draft. Nobody is talking about Kevin Hogan at Stanford.
At Stanford, yeah.
Kevin Hogan is realistically, Charlton, is the best quarterback in the draft, ability-wise, and most NFL ready when you want to talk about a quarterback. He may not fit the bill of what these guys say, but when you talk about intelligence, Kevin Hogan, Stanford, with a degree, won 2 Pac-12 championships, Charlton.
Well, why does winning matter? Can't we just pick a guy that we want to be great and keep saying that he's great? If we say it enough, maybe people will actually start believing it, Big C.
Well, Charlton, it's just like the last 4 Super Bowls. There's been a black quarterback in the last 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's only 7 of them starting in the NFL.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Okay.
Well,
and 4 have been to the Super Bowl. Now, how many white starting quarterbacks are there in the NFL? How many of them have been to the Super Bowl? I mean, we got quarterbacks who haven't even touched on, like Jay Cutler, who has not gotten close to the playoffs.
Is he still playing in the league? I thought he was having migraine headaches, Big C. Is that
what? Well, he's having headaches because he can't figure the game out, Charlie.
He's having headaches. He can't figure out why he's making so much money for never getting to the playoffs.
but when you got all of these white quarterbacks in the league, Charlton, and their QBR rating is below 80, but they're NFL starters, and no one is saying anything. When was the last time they walked in and said, hey, Tony Romo should take a pay cut, Jay Cutler should take a pay cut, Ryan Tannehill should take a pay cut, Matthew Stafford should take a pay cut, Matt Ryan should take a pay cut,
man, you're trying to get...
We're looking at these guys that don't even make the playoffs.
Playoffs?
One of them has been, only Drew Brees has won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they're not saying these guys should take a pay cut, even though they're only coming in and their teams are sub 500 every year.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting because when you look at the coaches, even in the coaching ranks, and I know we have the Rooney Rule where you have to actually give an African-American coach an opportunity.
No, they don't, Charlie. That's just a Rooney Rule. That's a rule on paper.
Okay.
How many African-American coaches? Look how many openings there were, Charlton.
Yeah.
This season, and there were 6 or 7 head coaches hired this year in the NFL.
Yeah.
1 African-American head coach. You hire 1, you hire 1, okay?
Ouch.
So the ratio didn't change. You fired Lovie Smith for doubling the win total in Tampa in 1 year. Greg Schiano had less wins in 2 years and kept his job in Tampa than Lovie Smith had in 1 year, and he got fired. So you fired Lovie Smith, so the Rooney Rule was in place. Okay, we can replace an African-American head coach with an African-American head coach.
Yeah.
So Hugh Jackson got a job in Cleveland. Wow.
Well, what's interesting when you say that? If I look up down the Pac-12, because I'm out here in the Pac-12 conference, you cover the SEC where you guys actually have your own TV station, just like Notre Dame.
Well, we like to watch quality football back here.
Oh, that hurts. I think we're going to find out quality when USC plays the great Alabama in the national. Actually, it's the kickoff classic. They're going to hold it in the great state of Texas.
They still got a team there? Are they on probation?
They still can. No, they're on probation.
Oh, okay.
Hey, that wasn't Reggie Bush's fault. That was Pat Hayden. No, they blamed Coach Mike Garrett for that. But think about this. David Shaw, one of the great coaches of college football. Do you believe he's only the 7th highest paid coach in the Pac-12 conference? Actually, he's number 8. There's 7 coaches in the Pac-12 that have a higher salary than Shaw, who's actually graduated more players from Stanford onto the NFL, had them drafted, more than USC, UCLA, Oregon, since he's been there. And he's been to the Rose Bowl twice in the last 3 years. He's the 8th highest paid coach in the Pac-12 conference, Big C.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he an African-American coach? So we don't have
I don't think that matters, though.
It doesn't.
Well,
he's at an academic institution, Charlton, where he graduates a high rate of football players
one of the highest in the country.
Not only that, the players that he gets drafted are quality individuals, and you don't hear about them on police bloggers, whether they're in college or even after their career.
Wait, let's not talk about Brock Osweiler.
NFL, they go on into corporate America. I see where he has this one offensive tackle that was the Outland Trophy winner, Charlton, that's talking about being a trauma surgeon. You know, he's going to play football for a few years because his dad played in the NFL and he wants to follow the dream he's had since he was a kid with his dad.
Yeah.
But after he finishes life in the NFL, he's going to be a surgeon. You know, he's a microbiologist and he wants to be a trauma surgeon.
Well,
that's the type of kids that David Shaw puts together out at Stanford. These are the guys leaving after their sophomore, junior year. These are guys leaving after they graduate. And I guess that's really not worth it in the scheme of life, Charlton, is to develop quality young men that don't get in trouble, that become a productive member in society.
Yeah.
You can't reward a head coach in America for doing that, Charlton.
Well, I think, ironically, you look at the great Brock Osweiler, and this is another touchy topic because he's also out of the Pac-12. He played at the great Arizona State University. I think they had a coach by the name of Cush back in the 70s who was really tough on his players, and he used to hit players all the time, a lot like the great Woody Hayes at Ohio State, where that was acceptable. Well, we talked about how the NFL's anti-violence and how this relates to this topic is so important to me because you talk about David Shaw, how things are done the right way at Stanford. You never hear about kids getting in trouble, never hear about academic probation. But this Osweiler kid that was left Denver to go to the Houston Texans, we saw him push a woman twice on a tape. Now, this morning, I'm listening to Mike and Mike, and they were talking about, they had an athlete on, I won't say the athlete's name, but they kept bringing up this Greg Hardy incident that happened about 2 years ago, and they say, well, don't you think he's not contrite? Don't you think he should apologize? Don't you think he should acknowledge what he did? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, guys. Why don't you guys even talk about Osweiler pushing a woman twice? Because that just happened last month, Big C, and no one even talks about it. They keep bringing up Hardy. So this is not about Pac-12 or about SEC football or David Shaw being a great coach. It's about how the media perceives things, Big C. And when you have people in our position and we say nothing but how great people are, I think that's perpetuating the problem, Big C. And again, your thoughts on will we ever see anything happen with the Osweiler push on a woman? How many more women will have to face that and people say nothing about it? They talk about an incident 2 years ago, Big C.
Well, Charlton, when you think about the Hardy incident, and they're saying that he's not contrite, that's an incident that was settled in the court of law, okay?
Yeah.
That's where it was done. Not in the jury of the public, but in a court of law is where that case was settled at.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. When we look at the Osweiler incident, Osweiler is not the first Anglo quarterback to push, to force himself, or to imprison a female. It happened a couple of years ago in Lake Tahoe. It happened in Atlanta, Georgia, in a bar downtown from a starting NFL quarterback.
Right, and we heard go ahead,
when these quarterbacks are allowed to do this based on their complexion. Now, there was an incident also a couple of years ago with Colin Kaepernick, an alleged incident down in Miami.
That was just alleged. Nothing ever happened, though.
But the media couldn't help but run with
right.
it. There was no visual. There was no photographs. There was nothing. There was just an alleged that he was around.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was there participating, but that he was around. He was at the hotel. But because he was in the vicinity, it was alleged that he was involved. Now, you have two white quarterbacks that everybody knows participated in these actions.
Yeah.
But there was never any backlash from the mainstream media. The talking heads are like, hey, we'll speak about it today, but after this, it's over with. We don't want to tarnish this guy's career. But if he's an African-American quarterback, we're going to do and say everything we can. I mean, let's go back to the incident with Michael Vick several years ago.
Oh, yeah, the dogfighting thing.
His career as a prison time over a house that he owned that he was renting to some people.
Right.
On this alleged dogfighting ring.
Right.
Okay, now he owned the house. But by being the owner of the house and having family members living in it, he was supposed to be accountable for everybody's actions, Charlton.
Yeah.
He was supposed to babysit people who were renting a house. That's like any landlord in America. So if you go by and you see an improper incident occurring, and you got to have the landlord tried for that scenario, not the residents of the house.
Yeah.
Michael Vick went to jail. Nobody else did, and he didn't even live in the house, Charlton. So there's a double standard about how the media, the talking heads, judges, and evaluates certain quarterbacks in the NFL. Some get a pass. If you're too dark, we're going to bring it to the light.
That is so incredible. I heard today the former President Bill Clinton, and this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it, Ford Tough. Go down and drive it and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. You can only get it there brand new. Big C, former President Bill Clinton was talking today on television. Actually, it was yesterday and it's been ongoing this week because he's stomping for Hillary Clinton to become the Democratic nominee. They have this issue called Black Lives Matter. As you and I, two African-American men, and I think all lives matter, but I hate when we have this, what we call black on black crime. Let's be honest about it. Every culture has their own crime. White on white crime, Latino on Latino crime. It could be whatever ethnic group you happen to belong to. However, because there's not as much value placed on black men's lives, and that's from the criminal justice system, same crimes oftentimes get more punishment, or you even get exonerated if you happen to be Caucasian. That's a fact. However, this is what I want to say to you, and this is what I want every media person to talking head to talk about. Whether you're black, white, male, or female, why is it that no one talks about the racial disparity when it comes to how people are even perceived in the sports business? Because even me, naive, I was naive, but as you point things out, a part of me, I got to tell you, I'm thinking, well, maybe he's just talking because he's old school and he's seen a lot of times when things in the Jim Crow era that don't exist anymore. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, maybe they do. They're just a little bit more subtle, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, to start with, you can't tell how old I am because my head is shaved and I have gray hair, okay?
Okay.
So let's not even go into that.
Hey, I love old people. I love young people too. We're all in the same boat. It takes a village, right, Big C?
I don't have to use any Grecian formula to dye my hair. Don't have it. But when we look at the disparity in society, and whatever race that it is, when you look at the incarceration rate in America,
yeah,
where 80% of the young males in America that are incarcerated are African Americans. Now that's a huge disparity when only 27% of American society is African American. So it is targeted.
Not even 27%. I think it's only about 13% is African American. But the judges.
We just got off one of the most dramatic series in television history, The People versus O.J., okay?
Yeah.
And they had this lead detective, Mark Furman.
Yeah.
Who sit there, and this stuff is still on tape, it's actual.
Yeah.
It wasn't a dramatization for the series. Where he sit up and talked about how they profile and they set up black men to get what they want out of them, that they will falsely accuse them. They will put up false papers, that they file.
Yeah.
And make these false statements to get them put in prison, incarcerated, to destroy their lives, to take them out of the voting booth. Now, that was really proven beyond a reasonable doubt prior to the O.J. trial when the Rodney King incident occurred back in 1992 in Los Angeles, out there in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, wait, it wasn't my. Don't blame me for the riot. I wasn't part of. I didn't burn anything. I'm just saying.
They beat this man for a half hour.
That was horrible.
They had 2 tasers hooked up to him, saying that he was a resisting arrest. The only thing Rodney King was doing was involuntary movement every time they hit him with a taser and another billy club.
Yeah.
But when they wrote the reports, they said that he was attacking them. They were in fear of their lives. Now, he even never got up off the ground.
And then we saw the videotape.
And they were acquitted of this, Charlton. So when you sit there and say there's equality in America, and then the O.J. verdict, it was just a backlash far as what had happened to Rodney King and many other African Americans in Southern California. It was like, okay, we got a chance to vindicate somebody just like the white society vindicates their people all the time.
Well, you know what's interesting?
It created a total racial divide in America and a huge backlash.
Well, what's interesting when you bring that up, and people may say, well, how does that relate to sports? I remember when I was playing football back in the day, and you're treated like a king in a sense by society, predominantly white coaches. They treat you like you're the prodigal son, like they love you. If you're not playing for them, then obviously the thing changes. But I just got to make this statement because a lot of African Americans, if you don't have a uniform on, you're not given the same preferential treatment that maybe someone like Jerry Rice, who also follows us on Twitter, or someone like even OJ before all the issues happened with him. When you have the uniform on, you're almost like someone said Magic Johnson in the movie. I think it was Radio Raheem was in the movie. Spike Lee wrote it. And I'm missing the movie right now, but he said, well, those guys aren't black. Those are like movie stars. And to me, I want to ask this question. At what point in time will even the African-American announcers or broadcasters start speaking them? about just being treated fair. Chris Rock shouldn't be the only one to do it. There's no one at the Masters talking about equal time. I know Mike Tirico's down there. But it's painful because I remember I got pulled over about 3 years ago. I was driving a BMW in a suburban neighborhood, and the first thing the officer said to me was, "Are you out on parole or probation?" Now, I was expecting him to ask me for my driver's license and registration. So I called my attorney, got my attorney on the phone. They kept me there 15 minutes, and then they let me go. They were trying to think of what did we tell them? So, long story short, I didn't have a uniform on, and I was in a suit and tie. But I wonder how the media coverage on African-American players gets that same pushback. And you also talked about the coaches in March Madness, how they get paid more money when they get onto the national championship game, and there's a pushback to their players if they don't get them their Big C. What's the remedy for that in the final 2 minutes, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about the remedy, if there was still segregation in college sports, would the game be as exciting as what it is? When you look at March Madness, when you looked at the Sweet 16,
but there's segregation in golf, Big C. That's still exciting. People still clamor to see the end. I'm serious.
It's not exciting, Charlton. What is golf without Tiger Woods?
Not the same.
50% less viewership. 50% less attendance without Tiger Woods.
Okay, but why do these?
Until Tiger came along.
But why do these great announcers? And I love the great Jim Nantz, and I love the great Vern Lindquist, and all these great Nick Faldo, all these great guys who have these great jobs and they travel, but they don't have any social common sense the way Muhammad Ali did. And I'll say that because it's true.
The announcers that you have today, they can make a roach running across the carpet sound exciting if they want to.
Right.
But they can make you believe what's not real, and they do that all the time. They placate your mind. And when you sit there and you know the difference between black and white, we all do that. But when you sit there and you see a great performance, a virtuoso that's being performed on the golf course or wherever it may be, when you look back, you think about the basketball players who just went into the Basketball Hall of Fame. A player like Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was coached by Larry Brown at Philadelphia. Larry Brown was a great coach, at the University of Kansas, with Philadelphia 76ers, Indiana, and a few other places. He's at SMU now. But he had Allen Iverson, not even 6 feet tall, but he understood the talent of Allen Iverson to just let him play the game. Not control him. It's like having a quarter horse who wants to run. Allen Iverson went out there with his talent, didn't worry about where his life was off the court, and allowed him to play. Allen Iverson was not loved by the media because he spoke his mind. So they always found ways to knock Allen Iverson.
Or they consider him too street.
He was as great as anybody could be, Charles.
Exactly. So that's the thing. And for young black boys, it doesn't matter what color in my eyes, but maybe I'm a bit naive because I'm a little bit new school. But I don't want to see Mike's son or young boys being treated like they're loved when they have a uniform on, but being asked what I was faced with, are you out on parole or probation, when I get pulled over for whatever trumped up reason they were making. And because I have a voice, I talk about it. It pains me that some of the great white broadcasters are so silent, and we have the great Bill Clinton saying that Black Lives Matters, but these broadcasters, they say nothing. Because their lives are plushed in the last 30 seconds, Big C. What's the solution for this? Because I think that sports is how we bring our society together, Big C.
Well, Charlton, the minute black athletes stop talking to white commentators, it will change. I remember the great Art Monk, wide receiver for the Washington Redskins. When he retired from football, he was football's all-time leading receiver, all-time leading touchdown catcher, and had 3 Super Bowl rings. Qualifications that get you in on the first-round ballot or second-round ballot. Took him 19 years, 19 years, Charlton, to make Pro Football's Hall of Fame. He got 3 Super Bowl rings. You had 981 receptions when you retired, and then close to 12,000 yards. But the media said, the guys who did the voting, well, he wasn't that kind to us. He made us work when we came in because he wouldn't give us a cheap story. Because he was not a cheap man. He was intelligent. And when you did not want to talk to him like he was an intelligent man, he was insulting to you. So he would rather not have a conversation.
Well, Big C,
people who had the votes, Charlton, kept him out of the NFL Hall of Fame for 19 years. Every one of them, Charlton, should have been stripped of their votes for the NFL Hall of Fame at that point when Art Monk got in and when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Charlton.
Well, I just want to say that this is such a lightning rod conversation because I want us and everyone in society to get the same treatment whether you're wearing a uniform or not. And Big C, as we always say, our show comes to a close too soon. No, it's time to hang up the toys. You got to put them away. It's time to go to bed. But I want to say to everyone, we appreciate you listening in, and we bring you real talk. We talk about how great players are. We talk about how bad some players are, but we also let the media know if you have a microphone, just be real. Say what's right. And if you want to hear what's right, you can follow us every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton and Big C Sports. We thank you for listening, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.